Hi, Linda.hollington here, Caldwell Bank of Paradise. We've had some concerns from VA buyers and questions, lots of phone calls and things like that. Because before they enacted the new policy that allows veterans to pay for a buyer representation, since everything's changed, they weren't allowed to do that. So how could they make a purchase? Because the rule's set up that it says that you have to do it. They have a temporary policy in effect right now, and they're working on making it permanent. There's some question about whether it needs to be a permanent thing or not, or it could just be changed. But it's now required that you have this buyer representation. Before you had no representation. You were working with a buyer without a contract, which seemed unfair. Yes, a seller has a contract with the buyer. It tells what each side's responsible for. They agree to terms, and they go through with the process. On the buy side, it hasn't been that way. These agreements have always been available to us. They were used at one time. I remember maybe 50% of the time, maybe around the early 2000s, but then they went out of use for whatever reason. Now we're required to go back to them. So you'll be signing a buyer representation, and that means someone's representing you. You're going to sit down, talk about terms and responsibilities and who's doing what, when and where and all that, which is a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. It's going to really help you in the long run. And you don't have to sign anything that you don't agree with, just like any other contract. You can move on to another buyer representative, see what they have to offer. There are many options on how these buyers are paid, because in the contract, you do agree to pay, see that the buyer agent is paid. It's now buyer's responsibility. However, there are forms out, and here are the options on how the buyer's agent can be paid. Simplest one is the buyer does pay it. Simple. The other one is the listing broker pays it. The listing broker gets paid, pays the listing agent and you and the buyer's agent. The seller pays you directly. They make terms and they pay you directly. Or the seller pays the buyer broker and the broker pays you. That's the four ways, and you'll be told and explained all that. But the VA is capable of funding VA loans, doing it with the new buyer's broker arrangements. So no worries there. We can take care of it. Thank you for joining me again, Linda.hollington, Caldwell Bank of Paradise. See you again soon.